Just commiserating with the audience earlier, the holiday season often comes with a hefty price tag. So we took to the streets to find out how some of you prepared for the fiscal festivities.
Talk to each other frankly about how much we're going to spend this Christmas and kind of just agree on a dollar figure, I think.
I usually don't really make too many adjustments. I just sort of buy gifts and then at the end sort of deal with my credit card.
I don't budget because I never know how much I'm going to spend, so there's no point.
Whether it's gifts and eating out or parties, kind of we'll do $300 this year. That's what's in the Christmas envelope, and that's it. That's kind of how we operate.
Well, there's magic in the air, and you just want to buy everything you can for our loved ones.
And so we decided last year that we're not going to buy gifts this year.
What?
Are you okay with that? We're actually not.
And how do we teach our kids not to fall into that same trap? How do we reduce their expectations at Christmas time?
We made a decision. All the adults, we didn't involve the children. That's how you do it.
And all the daughters thinking is, well, you could have warned me about this new decision we've made in our family that we're not getting gifts this year. Please welcome Bruce Sellery.
That's a big deal. It's like just springing that on them.
It's a big deal. Well, you know what? We're going to talk a little bit about that because let's talk about money when it comes to the holidays. I was telling the audience earlier, I was broke after last year for many, many months. And you think about it and you think, you know, I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
We've got to sit down and think about how we can be a little bit more responsible this year. So you've got some ideas as to how we can be more
I have ideas,
friendly.
and it begins with having a number.
Okay.
Just a number, because every family is different. The amount of debt that you have, the income that you have, how many family members you have is different for everybody.
Yeah.
So start with a number so that you're conscious about it, because what happens is you go into the store, you know what this is like, you go into the store and things leap into your cart.
Yes.
You don't know where they came from,
Right
and you go to the
into your
checkout
bag.
and you think, how did I get all that stuff? Well, that's what great retailers do. They have us buy things impulsively. So have a number and really focus on delivering on that number so that you are conscious on what it is that you're spending your money on.
And you say it doesn't even matter what that number is.
It doesn't even matter what the number is because you have a number. And first of all, when you look at that number, some of you will be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's the number. But at least you'll know what the number is and you won't spend like 5 times the number, which is sometimes what happens.
What are we including in that number?
Everything. Everything. If you're buying a new kitchen sink for Christmas, include the kitchen sink. But on the gift list, it's the ones you know about, right? Like the family and the kids. It's also the teachers. Maybe you give gifts to teachers. Gifts to charity. So gifts is first among them. Also food. If you're hosting your entire family, you don't feed 20 people for free. That costs a fair amount of money. And if they're drinkers, and many are, liquor can be really expensive. So gifts, people are laughing like, oh yeah, Aunt Sally, woo! Gotta have a bottle of JD just for her. So food, gifts, entertainment. A lot of people choose to go to a show over the holidays. The pantomime, the Christmas Carol, the ballet. And those tickets are expensive. As is clothing. I mean, here we've talked about some great ways to have economical outfits for parties, but that's a cost. Travel is a big cost that we don't necessarily think about because we're just driving to Montreal or Ottawa or Kamloops. But the gas, the hotel, I include babysitters in that broad bucket. Those are big expenses. So there's a lot to take into consideration. Just put it all down on a list and total it up, preferably with a glass of something sparkly, because it may be like, oh my God, I got my God.
Okay, so you've sat down, you have your number. Any other tips and tricks to help us, you know, make sure we stay
Here's the one you're not
going to
like.
What's
you
that?
ready?
Go.
Trade-offs.
Trade-offs.
So you look at the number, you freak out a little bit about the number, and then you think, well, what could we trade off? So do you know what? Dennis and I do not do big gifts as a couple. We don't do big gifts.
That's a good trade-off.
Of course, Abby's 5. She should have an amazing Christmas. But my family, there's 6 kids in my family. We're like 25. We're enormous. We do no gifts. Period, full stop. Yeah. So you just make those choices. And for some family listening, watching this going, Bruce is loony or a Scrooge or some miser guy. But it's just a choice that we have made. So look at it and say, you know what, gifts are really important to us. We're not going to go to the show. Or the show's important, let's not travel. So that budget makes sense. Because the next thing you have to do is figure out how you're going to pay for it.
Right.
And do that in November and December, because when the credit card bill arrives in January, you're going to think, where are we going to get even the money for the minimum payment here?
Yeah.
So is that you're going to spend less in January? Are you going to, I don't know, work an extra shift? What are you going to do such that that credit card bill does not last you all the way to the following November? You don't want to have it hanging over you.
Now, if you are a big planner, you suggest even putting away $100 or $200
Yes.
a month up till Christmas so that you actually have a pot that you can take from.
So you'd open up a separate bank account, maybe it's a tax-free savings account, and you'd have a certain amount of money going transferred every single paycheck into that account, such that when it's time for Christmas, you just spend what you've got in there and you spend no more than that. That's difficult to do, especially because so many of us are playing catch-up. So we're trying to fix the problems of last Christmas, and it's hard to get ahead of it. There's one last point I want to make is Christmas and the holidays are really, really emotional. And for all the wonderful reasons, but for some troubling ones as well when it comes to money, because if you decide that you're going to make some trade-offs and change things, some people will not be happy about it.
It's very controversial.
It is very controversial, very, very controversial. So you need to be aware of that and tread carefully, because if you say, you know what, let's not do gifts for the siblings this year, it may be that one of your siblings equates that to love. They really, really do. So they feel like, oh, like, is there a problem in our relationship or whatever? So do you know, my best friend, she needs to give a gift. We need to exchange gifts. I would be fine to let that tradition go. She's not fine. She needs to do that. So that's absolutely just what we do. She tells me what to buy.
She does, eh?
Oh, yeah.
I like that
Literally,
idea.
like practically with a UPC code. She tells me what to buy. Yeah, and then she receives it and she's so surprised. How did you know?
That's the way to work a relationship, though.
You know,
say what you want and do it. This is what works. I don't need any gifts.
Simple.
I want food. Let's sit down and eat together. That makes me happy, okay?
I would love to do that.
Excellent. It's a deal.